Issue 137. We start out with the villain of the story telling Sonic and the Chaotix that they're gonna be their slaves, like Mighty's father. Thankfully, Mighty's father starts explaining why he came to work for them. Months ago, while looking for a root, he and his friends were captured in the swamp. The villain explains that the mind root links into the nervous system and removes free will. Somehow Sonic escapes the vines, and he explains that he had been weakening the root with super speed vibrations all the time so he could smash his way out. With the other Chaotix brainwashed, the villain tells them all that he wants them to use a chemical to alter the entire planet, starting with New Tech City. By pouring it into the sewers, the city will become part of his swamp, with him as its ruler. Sonic has to fight the Chaotix, at one point saying that he's always wanted a good excuse to hit Charmy. And after spin dashing at Mighty's back, the normally proud Hedgehog has a moment of humility again, realizing that it's hopeless to fight and someone could get hurt. The story ends with them running away. I mean, at least we got to see him fight the Chaotix a little, but that was all padding too. In the next story, after Knuckles recaps to the audience what was happening 2 issues ago, while going through an ancient sewer system in Angel Island, one of the villains scans the robot's frequencies and says, "Set your chameleon circuit to 275. What's that supposed to mean? It turns out that this gadget conveniently hacked into the robots so that they wouldn't be able to sense them anymore, and Knuckles encounters the villains in the tunnel system. He's threatened by their muscle, and after a terrible sound effect, Knuckles catches his fist without his hand hurting at all, calls him Banana Breath, which I'm sure is a slur against apes, and punches him away. The story ends with him being shocked to unconsciousness by a collar being put around his neck, which distinctly reminds me of when the Hunter did that to Knuckles at the end of the Knuckles comic. In the next story, we see that on board a spaceship prison with a hard-to-pronounce name, a breakout is taking place, and we see aliens freaking out about living puppets going to attack, trying to kill all of the non-puppets, with one of them saying the silly line, "Get help! The puppets are loose!" And look at that, I'm smiling again. Will this be another ridiculous but still threatening plot? I have to wonder if there's a reason they're all like this, like they were used as slaves or created by a spiteful wizard. Techno and Amy are warped here, with Techno snarking that they're in danger as usual, and Amy and Techno get imprisoned with the crew, who are transporting criminal puppets to a prison planet when they broke free and took over. A whole planet that's just used for a prison. What a waste of perfectly good pastures and forests. Maybe it never had any, that's why it's used for this. How did they break free anyways? I hope that's explained since it's the entire premise of the story. Fortunately, what is explained is why the puppets can move and think. They have intelligence chips. That still doesn't explain why they can move. How would they have nervous systems and stuff? With no explanation about why they're evil, one of the overly stereotypical aliens says that now the puppets want to use the ship to invade a planet. And another alien explains that since the puppets threw the pilot overboard, they're stranded in space. After Techno studies a planetary chart, well, it's a good thing that's there. She tells the puppets that she'll fly the ship to a planet they can invade, and after an alien questions why she's doing this, she gives an annoying response as cover, and Amy says that they can trust her. After the puppets talk about planning to kill Techno instead of rewarding her for helping them, the ship lands on a planet with a pink sky. At first I assumed that this was a peaceful planet coming back for a check of skunks to make the puppets good. In fact, even when reading the script out loud I had assumed that was the case. But the truth is way nastier. Techno lands them on a world full of giant termites, which she knew existed thanks to the planetary chart. And these termites devour all of them. Once again, a hero happily causes the murder of an entire group of people, possibly an entire race, and yet killing Eggman years ago was way too much for her. At least these guys are all evil, so they deserve it, but the same can be applied to Eggman. And the rest of the issue is wasted on a story reprint to take advantage of the people who they think didn't read the story yet. The first 2 stories are by Nigel Kitching. In the first one, the Chaotix are brainwashed by a magical mind root to be the villain's slaves, with Sonic escaping that bait because he vibrated his vines apart at Sonic speed, and he runs away smartly rather than risk someone getting hurt. So little happens in each part of the story arc because there's so little comic space for it. I can't help but feel like that's a problem. This entire story was padding. The second story has the guard robots of Knuckles get hacked into so they can't sense the Eggman fanboys anymore, and then one of them puts an electric collar on Knuckles' neck, like the Hunter did to him and Archie. Only with Archie under Penders, it was much more interesting because there was much more than just one thing to say about it. The Caller forced him and Monk to stay close to work together so that they could be hunted, which was ironic because Monk was Knuckles' bully. Here, I doubt there's a special gimmick with it. Though with a mad scientist with them, it makes sense that they'd have this convenient device to easily defeat him. And the final story is by Lou Stringer. At least it wasn't terribly written this time. But its pacing was pretty slow and dull at first because Amy and Techno are locked into a small exposition dump that still doesn't explain why the puppets want to kill all non-puppets and stuff, let alone why they can move. You at least explain the whole premise of the story. Techno figures out she can get all the puppets killed by piloting the spaceship to a planet of termites. Vicious, but they did deserve it. It would have been much more heroic for her to bring them to the peaceful planet of Amberers, like I expected. I just have to wonder why she didn't tell Shortfuse to kill Eggman if she's perfectly fine with committing genocide on an entire group of people who are less evil than Eggman.